Hi, Dorothy. Oh, TGIF.
Yes, TGIF. So, a very good Friday evening to everyone. Thank you once again for coming on to this webinar, spending your precious Friday with us. Thank you. So today we are going into to look at the growth cycle from germination to harvest, which is the #1 choice in the poll on the Tampines home farming community Facebook group. But for the OTH hydroponics pilot program, actually the #1 choice was nutrient solution. So actually, it's good to do these two topics back to back, because after you get from the germination and you are ready to put it into the system, and the hydroponic solution, nutrient solution gets flowing, sooner or later you need to top it up. So how to do that? So it's a 1-2 punch, these two webinars, this Friday and next Friday. So today we look at how to germinate the seeds first. Usually with soil, it's pretty easy. We just put it in the soil and let it grow. But for hydroponics, it can be a little tricky, because sometimes we don't quite understand how do we germinate the seeds, when do we put it into the system. We hear about people saying when it's germinating, you can only use half strength nutrient solution. What does that mean? Okay, so Chris, today you're going to tell us all the answers and help us through this. Chris, over to you.
Yes, thank you, Dorothy, and TGIF. It's not your normal TGIF today. It's Friday the 13th. So,
Lucky 13.
Lucky 13. Before you watch any horror movies, Friday the 13th series today, we need to spend some 30 minutes of your time to go about the 4th installment of this webinar series, which is the growth cycle. So from germination to harvest, this was the winner on the poll. And the runner-up is the nutrient solution. So yes, it's a 1-2 punch for these two. And as we go along on the slides, we will touch on a bit about our previous webinars, which we have already conducted. Like the first one was about lighting. Second one was about water, working water. And the third one is about medium. So those 3 webinars will touch a bit on this growth cycle from germination to harvest. So if you want to watch that after this webinar, you can go to our channel, YouTube channel, LifePlantz. So you can just search at YouTube. You will see LifePlantz with a Z. Okay, so let's start it off. Okay, so this is hydroponic growth cycle. So we will be focusing on hydroponics rather than soil-based germination up to the harvest. Okay, so what is a growth cycle? So when planning your hydroponic garden, there is a significant amount of planning that you need to do. It's just like a project, if you may say, if you may do, like if you plan to buy something, like you want to replace your TV at home, so you need to know the size of the TV. Are you going to put it on a table? Are you going to mount it on a wall? So that all needs to be considered before even buying your TV, because you don't want to buy something that you will not be able to use, right? So in hydroponics, it's the same. You need to do quite a significant amount of planning in where you need to identify what do you plan to grow and how do you intend to grow it. So we're talking about the plants, right? So there are stages, like from the seedlings to propagation, the vegetative, and finally to your harvest stage of your growth cycle. So a lot of questions, but the #1 question is, how long am I going to wait for my plants to become mature? That's a hard thing to answer right now, but as we go along on this this is only a short topic. So after this, I intend to give more time to you guys to ask questions. So we will have more time on the Q&A. So once we go along the stages, you will get to know how long actually is these particular stages. Okay, so we go to planning immediately. So I'm still deciding what to grow. So I don't know what to grow. So just if you're having a challenge of identifying what plant to grow, then just select a system first. Like there are multiple hydroponics. So that's me planting my seeds. So just like putting pepper on your soil. So normally that's how we do it. No, just joking. Right? So you need to consider the system that you use. So on our second topic of the webinar, we discussed about different types of hydroponic systems. So there will be something like this, like NFTs, deep water culture, the wick system, ebb and flow, drip system, aeroponics. So these are some of the 6 basic, very popular. So the OTH hydroponic kit is a nutrient film technique. So we will be covering most of this using NFT so that we can give much value for our OTH kits or the people who have adopted the OTH kit. So your hydroponic system selection will allow you to choose the medium, right? So because each of these systems will allow you to use different types of mediums. So on our third topic, we have covered on growth mediums. So if you want to learn more about that, you can always watch it on our YouTube channel. So which type of medium? So that's important. And the medium you will choose then will allow you to choose what to grow. Because some plants tend to be more successful or more easy to plant on certain mediums. And afterwards, you can now get your supplies. So when you have did your planning, research, then that's the time to buy your supplies. So this will at least prevent you from wasting precious resources. Like I buy clay pebbles for my medium, then eventually I will not be able to use it. So I went back to foam. So there's already wastage. You haven't started yet, but you have wasted some resource. So we plan to prevent that or totally eliminate that wastage. Okay, so after planning, then you have all your supplies, then it's time to get on with your plants. So propagation. So this stage, propagation is not that popular. So we call this cut and regrow plants. So what are cut and regrow? So these are plants that you can clone. So you can save a portion. You can do cuttings for this particular plant. So in this example on the picture, I think this is a pak choy. So pak choy is a cut and regrow plant. So once you harvested it, or if you buy it from like your convenience store, once you cut, cook the leaves, save the bud. So the bud is from the roots which are already cut up to the leaves that you cut. So that portion you can actually regrow. So how to regrow it? So assuming that those are from a healthy plant, so you can propagate it in water, no problem. You can just soak it. You can just put it on water, not totally soak it, but just put a portion or half of that bud, like in our example, the pak choy, in water. So aside from water, you can, if you are cutting a single leaf, you can try to do your put your cutting on foams, rock wool. So these are starter media. Foam and rock wool is a very good starter media, right? So other plants that can be propagated are like, for example, lettuce. Lettuce is also a cut and regrow plant. Watercress or your kangkong is a cut and regrow plant, right? So other examples are tomatoes. It can be propagated. You can cut stems and actually put and regrow it. So those are the typical examples of cut and regrow plants. So once you have the made your cutting, so make sure that it's on a humidity dome. So just plain water, replace it every day. So put it on the humidity dome. The humidity dome is a like an example of that is a transparent disposable plastic cup. So you can just put it on top and it will serve as a humidity dome. So also make sure that there's proper lighting when you're doing your cuttings. Okay, so it usually takes 2 weeks. For example, again, this pak choy, once from the cutting, it usually takes 2 weeks for it to develop leaves and roots. So if you spend more than 2 weeks already and your cutting is not doing or haven't got leaves, I think that's the time to like quit on trying to propagate that cutting that you made. So there are some tips on this propagation. When you did your cutting, once you do your cutting, um, so you need to stimulate the growth of the regrowth of roots. And one perfect example is honey, right? So just put where you cut it, just put a bit of honey on it and put it on water. So that's a good tip on propagation, right? So that's all about propagation, something that has been uh, neglected or some that when we talk about planting, it's all about seedlings. So actually, we can do our planting from propagation. Okay, so let's say that we have propagated and we also tried seedling. So seedling is germination from seed, which is all of us are aware right now, and which is the common practice of what we're doing. So the germination from seed, the source of your seed selection is important, meaning where you buy your seeds, right? So for us, we at LifePlantz, we source our seeds from a provider that uses non-GMO plants because normally your seeds will come from plants. So also it's some or the success rate of seeds are normally very low. Like if you have 10 seeds, one will be able to germinate. So because how we package seeds is also important, right? So if there's a lot of humidity on your package seeds, then it will spoil. That's why when you buy something, let's say example, a horticulture packet of seeds, it comes on a very nice packet. Like it's there's almost no air on it, so that it will not have moisture inside. So that's one important thing is the selection of seeds. So during seedling or germination, do not use your nutrient solution, right? Our nutrient solution it has a lot of nutrients on it intended for plants which has a mature root system. So our seeds doesn't have roots yet. So we only germinate using plain water and our medium. So medium could be what we have mentioned, the foam or the rock wool, which the OTH kit will use. Yep. So when you're germinating, use a moisture dome. So moisture dome is something like a cover to retain the moisture inside, and the seeds on your media may be rock wool or foam must be in total darkness. So there shouldn't be any light for at least 5 days. So 5 days of germination, you will be able to see the stem and the first 2 leaves coming out. So that's the time where you will remove your cover. So during the germination stage, the first 2 weeks, our goal is to establish a healthy root system. So a healthy root system without your nutrient solutions yet. So for the first 2 weeks, so it will be just clear sailing for your plants using only water. So one of my suggestion was not to use or not to germinate directly on your kits. So if you plan to germinate separately from the kit, you can use any container, but not the transparent ones. Don't use the transparent containers. Use a container that can be covered and can be close to lighting, to any form of lighting, and can retain moisture inside. So if you go to Daiso, you can find such containers, the one with the cover, right? So first 2 weeks is plainly your water. So this picture will just show you a drawing of how it will look like during its first week in the second week. So its first week alone, you will see the roots already coming out, right? So once this is established, once this root system is established, that's the time that you can transplant it to your kit. So once this root system has been established, so let's say that you already have your OTH kit running with water, right? So you need to make sure that your water level on each of the levels of your NFT or the tubes is there's a significant amount of water that but not too high. So if it's too high, you might need to adjust your pumps so that only it will push up only a bit of water. So this is the time that you will dilute it with 25% nutrient solution. So the water on your system, put 25%. So what's 25%? We will cover that on next week. So how do we do a 25% solution, right? So gradually increase it for the next 2 weeks from 50% to 100%. So now we're talking about at least 4 weeks. So 2 weeks for the germination process to see those leaves, transplant, and another 2 weeks on your OTH kits. Okay, so the next stage is vegetative. So this is the growth boom. So you will see on this stage that there's a rapid growth of stem, branches, leaves, and the roots of your plants. Right? So this is from the 3rd week onwards, or 4th week, 3rd week, 4th week onwards, where you start to put in the 50%, 100% of your nutrient solution strength. So at this stage, nitrogen is key at this stage. So the element nitrogen. So later on, we will go about the periodic table of elements for plants. So one of them, nitrogen. So for leafy greens and herbs, at this stage, 3 to 4 weeks, you can do cuttings, right? So for leafy greens, for example, for a cutting is the pak choy. So at this stage, vegetative state, you can do cuttings and try to clone and propagate. And the next one is herbs. Yeah, very nice. Herbs like mint. So mint, basil, those are easily propagated via cuttings. So at this stage, vegetative harvest can already be done. So about 5 weeks. So now we're on the 5 weeks stage on your growth cycle, covering vegetative. So where you can already harvest. But hold on. How about if I have a flowering plant like tomatoes, right? So tomatoes are flowering and fruiting. So this is an example of a tomato plant which is already budding and flowering. So if you are growing a plant that produces fruit, so on the 5th week onwards, after its vegetative state, so or the vegetative stage, so it will go on the budding and flowering stage. So at this stage, phosphorus will be a high demand. So this is one of elements that is key for growing plants. And potassium plays a primary role also for your healthy flowers and fruits. So potassium is required for the transport of sugar, starch, or the energy of the plants and the cell wall. So that allows it to bear flowers and eventually give you fruits. So for flowers to produce fruit, they would need to be pollinated. So good thing that tomatoes are self-pollinating. So meaning there's no male flower and there's no female flower. So the one flower, this flower already has the pollen and the egg that will bear the fruit. So you will see on the example here that that's a cotton bud. So trying to get pollens, trying to stimulate like what insects will do. So insects are not that bad. So as long as it's a controlled number of insects on your plants, it's good because insects help your flowering plants to pollinate. So another tip on pollinating tomato, which is a self-pollinating plant, is just shake it. Shake the flower, shake the plant. So the pollens will eventually fall and go to the egg that will produce the fruit. So some examples of self-pollinating are chilies. Chilies are self-pollinating. Your eggplants are self-pollinating. Your okra is self-pollinating. So those plants doesn't have a male and female flower. So you can just shake it until it bears fruit. So, but don't shake it until it's all the leaves are gone. Huh? Just shake so that the pollens will fall down and eventually land on plant. Okay, so that's flowering stage. So now is our fruiting stage. So fruiting, yep, that's me looking for fruits on my hydroponic plant. So sometimes it's very small, right? After the flower has dropped, you say, oh my God, the flower, I think there's no fruit that was bared on it. So you usually sometimes look at it very closely. So when the flowers are well pollinated, then the petals will soon drop and it will produce the fruit. So this is an example of a successful pollination where you will see a fruit actually has been developed after petals dropping. So at this stage, you will need to measure your nutrient solution. So on our third webinar, we are on our second webinar, we discuss about working water, covered about pH and EC. So EC levels should be around this range, 2.0 to 2.5 for flowering plants, and the pH will be about 5.5 to 6. So we maintain a very almost acidic level for plants because they tend to absorb more key elements, your NPKs and trace elements on this particular pH level. So you would need your pH meter and EC meter to do this. So make sure that your nutrient solution has the necessary nutrients for your fruiting plants. So we'll go later bit touch about on what are these nutrients, what type of nutrients. Okay, so and finally, what we have all been waiting for is our harvest. So yes, you can eat your tomatoes that you have grown, cherry tomatoes, no, these plum tomatoes, and your pak choy. So you can make it as a soup, very good for seafood soup, right? And for healthy plants, you can do cuttings, you can do cloning, propagation, so that you can easily multiply, or there's no need for you to go through a germination process because you have a very nice plant. You know that the quality of this plant is very good, and you propagate it, right? So for the rest, yeah, you can eat it. Very nice. So those are the stages. So we're now about 6 weeks. So at 6 weeks for your flowering, 7 weeks, almost 7 weeks for your flowering plants. Then about 5 weeks for your green leafy from germination to harvest. Okay. So during these stages, what are the common deficiencies? So this is only a few. This is not the full list. So if you go to the full list, we would need a lot of, or we need more time. But rest assured that we will be conducting more sessions with you guys, especially with common deficiencies, pests, not pets. So nitrogen. So if you have a nitrogen deficiency, you will see your yellowing of your leaves. So before you conclude that it's a deficiency of a certain element, is you need to check on your root system. So our objective for our seedling and propagation phase is to make sure that the plant has a very healthy root system to survive 5-7 weeks on a hydroponic solution. So that's why the selection of the seed or the propagated cuttings are also crucial stages when we do our planting. So nitrogen deficiency, you will see some yellow appearance of the leaves, especially on the older ones. You have poor fruit development and stunted plant, meaning it's not growing really high, right? So, or it's growing really slow. So boron. So if you see deformation of your leaves, the tips of your leaves, discoloration, deformation of the leaves, if it's curling up, so that's a sign of a boron deficiency. Right? So magnesium deficiency, chlorosis is um, the flower tends to, instead of green, it's becoming like pale. So pale green. So, and also it shows a poor fruit development and low yield. So magnesium deficiency. So if you see your plants rotting away, so this is a sign of potassium deficiency. So yellowing of leaves also on the edges. So poor growth, vulnerability to disease. So, and poor fruiting. So could be a potassium deficiency. So watch out during the growth of the growth of your plant from germination or propagation to harvest. Always observe your root system. It should be healthy. So you will see on the third webinar how we have described a root rot. So after this, watch the third um, webinar, which is titled grow videos. Okay, so this is your periodic table of plant elements. So it has your macronutrients, which is nutrients in large amounts. So this is what your plant will normally consume in large amounts. So it's your nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium, NPK. So that's why when you see fertilizers, you always see some numbers for NPK. So those are percentages of this particular macronutrients. So the secondary nutrients is magnesium, sulfur, and calcium. And micronutrients, so these are trace elements, so meaning the plant does not consume this in large quantities, but it's needed for certain stages of the plant. And your non-fertilizer, which is your air and your water, carbon, oxygen. Yep. So essential elements would be your NPK. So you will see this. You will see here for plant growth, NPK, nitrogen is very high in percentage because at this stage of growing your plants, nitrogen is the one that's absorbed in large quantities. So for fruiting, so or flowering of plants, you will see that the phosphorus and potassium is really high in percentage. And you will see here some other key elements like your calcium and your boron. So so fruiting, in fruiting, flowering, fruiting, calcium, magnesium, and sulfur is also very important, right? So on the next topic, next week, we will talk more about how do we balance these elements so that our plants will tend to thrive better on this hydroponic environment. So that ends my session for today. The growth cycle, hydroponic growth cycle. So I'll give more time for our Q&A.
All right. Thank you, Chris. Okay, let's look at the questions that we have in the chat. Serena asked, what herbs are well suited to hydroponics? Grow from seeds or cut and regrow possible?
Sorry, what is it again?
Serena is asking, what herbs are well suited to grow hydroponically? And do we grow them from seeds or cut and regrow? Or can we cut and regrow herbs?
Yeah, for herbs, what will I suggest is the easiest ones are basils and mint. all types of mints. So these are also cut and regrow plants, so you can propagate. So this type of plants normally grow really wild. So they will have a lot of branches, which you can do your cuttings and you can do your cloning. So once you do your cloning there, then you can put it on different parts or share it with other people. I've seen a lot in the forum sharing a lot of mint cuttings, basil cuttings. So that's what I would suggest.
Okay, so if anybody has a lot of mint or basil or other plants that can cut and regrow and would want to share, you can post it in the Tampines Home Farming Community Facebook group and share it.
Yeah, yeah.
Mm. Uh, NM is asking, is it good to keep seeds in the fridge? Keep inside a Ziploc bag? Can you do
Okay.
that?
So the concept of putting seedling or seeds into the refrigerator is to make sure that the environment is really dry, because inside the refrigerator the humidity is very low. So it depends on which part of your refrigerator that you put it. If you put it on your greens, so you will see a lot of moisture on that area of your refrigerator. So that's no good for your seedlings. If you then put it on the freezer, so also a no good area. So it's quite hard to find a very nice area for putting seedlings on refrigerators. That's why I normally don't suggest putting that. So what I would suggest is just putting it on Ziplocs. Don't use your hands when handling seeds. As much as possible, use tweezers, or if you have gloves, put in some gloves, because your hands have oils, have a lot of sweat on it. So we try to make these seedlings as clean as possible.
Okay. Yes, that's true, because in the fridge, in the vegetable compartment, we want some moisture to keep the vegetables fresh. So that's actually not good for the seeds.
Yeah.
So, and then they also ask, is there a good time to hand pollinate tomato and chili plants, morning or afternoon, or do we do it when the flower first open, or do you wait for 1 or 2 more days? Because it seems that he has tried hand pollination, but it doesn't work for him.
Yep. It is really difficult for pollinating plants by hand. So in terms of timing, there's no specific time that pollination happens. It can happen all throughout morning, nighttime, because if you know, say, some insects are active at night. Some insects, particularly bees, are very active in the morning. So it doesn't matter. So this pollination happens all throughout morning, evening. So what I would suggest is that let the flower mature enough. So if you see the flower, let's say in the fifth week, you see a flower, so you wait for another week before you try to pollinate it and or shake. So if not, just try to put it on your balcony for some natural insect pollination. You will see some insects in action. So don't disturb the insects. They're doing their job.
So this is the time when we invite insects to come. What if you live on a high rise, on a high floor? Would that be a problem?
Yeah, unfortunately, some insects cannot fly that high, so they would need to use the lift. Yeah. If you are on a really high rise, I would see that balconies there will be very windy. So wind also helps on pollinating, because it's like you manually shaking plants. But make sure that the wind is not that high that your plants are swaying all over and losing the flowers. So it's still a skill, or that when you hand pollinate is you still, like, it's like painting. You just find that stroke that gives it full simulation to reproduce.
Okay, so that would be very advanced. So maybe trial and error. The more you do it, maybe the more you'll be able to harness the essence of doing hand pollination. How do you, Serena is asking, how do you do cutting of tomato or chili plant? Which part to cut?
Okay, so you will normally see branches coming out there. So if you try to propagate tomatoes or chilies, so you need to have a 45-degree slice to it, right? So what you can do is, once you cut it, and let's say you have another chili plant which is more healthy, or you want to um, crossbreed, not crossbreed, but cross the between chilies, you can do that. You can do your cuttings, put it on the stem of another chili plant. That is also possible. So tomatoes as well, you can do that.
What do you mean by cut it and put it in the stem of another?
Grafting. It's like grafting.
Oh, okay.
So you can also propagate it by doing a 45-degree slice and try to propagate it.
Okay. So I suppose the slice part should be just above the node, right? Or just under the node?
Below the node.
Just below the node. So the node is where the part on the stem that is a little thicker, like has a bump where the leaves grows out.
Yeah.
So yeah, so just below the node, so that roots will start growing from here after you have cut it. Is that what you're looking at? Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Tom is asking, I harvest my first round of tomato and it did not produce fruits anymore. What should I do?
Yeah, normally what I'll do is I will talk to the plant. I will tell them, if you don't bear fruits, I will cut you down, and you will see that they will bear fruit. No, just joking. So I've seen that a lot. Sometimes it bear fruits. It's not season. It's not seasonal. These plants are not seasonal. So it may be because of the environment that it's in. So try to relocate the plant, put it on another location, give it some more sun, some more air. Sometimes it will like the environment and it will start to blossom again.
Okay, try that. Give it a new environment. Bees Galaxy is asking, does bok choy or lettuce have seeds to grow?
Yep. So normally we will not see this on our stages. Normally these plants are left on a soil environment. These plants flower. I'm also surprised. I haven't seen any lettuce blossom flower on my system. So I guess it's only on soil-based, but it normally takes very long for these flowers to eventually show up for you to harvest seeds on it.
So usually people don't grow them until they become a flower. If you want to grow bok choy or lettuce for eating, you wouldn't wait until they flower, because when they flower, it's too old already. It's not nice to eat anymore, right?
Yeah, it's almost at the stage of the plant where it is on its final days. Then it blossoms a flower, seeds for it to reproduce.
So yes, they can be grown using seeds. So you need to get the seeds from the supermarket or from a nursery, I guess.
Yeah.
Eugene is asking, when is a good time to harvest our vegetables? Any signs?
So
besides counting the weeks, yeah.
Yeah, there are multiple stages where you can do your harvest. Like, for example, for us, we do a lot of microgreens. So microgreens, we don't wait for the plants to mature. So 7 days, 10 days, you can do your harvest. So you can put your microgreens as toppings on your steak, on your salad. So that's a very fast cycle. So if you want up to the vegetative state, that is about 4 to 5 weeks, where you can enjoy like a salad, a big leaf of lettuce or for your salad. So it depends. If you want real quick results, microgreens. If you can sustain the life of the plant up to 5 6 weeks, then you wait for it to blossom until the full leaf can be harvested.
Does it give you a sign that I'm ready? I'm at my best state, most juicy and delicious, and harvest and eat me now. Can you tell by looking at it?
And there's no actual sign, no size, because any size of that plant will give you the same taste and nutrients. I was surprised even for a rocket that is very small, microgreen, 5 days, it tastes like rockets. So it doesn't give a signal that it's ready for harvest. So it's up to you. It's your signal. It's your tummy. I want to eat it now. So once your tummy signals you, just harvest it.
That's good advice. So just pluck it and eat it. And if you like the taste of it, that's the time to harvest and eat it. All right. NM is asking, what do we do for boron deficiency?
Okay, so boron is a trace element. So boron, there are different sources for boron, which we will cover on next week. So register for next week.
Yes, the link to register for next week will be up on the Facebook group. Bees Galaxy is asking where to get magnesium, potassium, etc.
So magnesium sulfate is your household Epsom salt. So there's a lot of Epsom salt. For calcium, don't use calcium carbonates. It makes your water very alkaline. Oops, that's for next week. Sorry.
Review. Sneak review.
Yeah. So for calcium, you can also boil eggs. So the shell of the eggs has calcium. So that's for next week.
Okay. So also potassium, that's for next week.
Yeah.
Emily is asking how much nutrients must we add into the system of 27L? Oh, I don't quite understand that.
27 liters.
Oh, okay. So meaning in a 27-liter tank, how much nutrients to add? Is that what the question means?
27 liters is a very big system. So the OTH kit is about a 5-liter system. So you have a basis of what a 27-liter system is. So the rule of thumb for nutrient solutions A and B, where it's the normal mixture that you can buy off the shelf, is about 20 ml per 1 liter. Yeah. So if you have 27 times, you just multiply your 20 out of 27. So it's on the label. So normally when you buy your nutrient solutions, you will see on the label how much ml will produce 1 liter.
Okay, so read the label like with all solutions and chemicals. Terry is asking, what are the physical indicators to determine whether, the same question. What are the physical indicators to determine whether the veggies are ready for harvest? No physical information. Eat it.
Tummy indicator.
Okay, Chengxia is asking the numbers appearing in the elements. What do they mean? Oh yeah, your periodic table just now.
Yeah, those are the numbers based out of the periodic table. Yep, the numbers. So if you see a number on your fertilizer, that means the percentage of the NPK.
Okay, so on the periodic table, the elements, that is not the full periodic table, just dumb it down. If you study chemistry, it's like a big table of lots of elements, much more than that. and each one of them has a number. I've forgotten what I learned in school. What do the numbers mean? So maybe we do a quick check, and I'll post that on the Facebook group. But that number has nothing to do with the NPK number that you usually see when you buy a bag of fertilizer. That's the percentage of the elements inside that bag of fertilizer. So it's a bit different. So perhaps maybe I can try to get some information from Chris and post that in the Facebook group, because I think that needs a bit more detail to answer the full question, right?
Sure.
Okay. Okay, Terry asks, I am seeing better growth in DWC compared against NFT, even though they germinate at the same time with the same conditions and nutrients. Why is this so?
Okay, deep water culture in NFT. So they're both very different. So one is always submerged on your solution, and another one, it has a flowing film of water. So those are the main factors that can affect the growth. Another one is most probably your lighting. So if your lighting is the same on both of your systems, yep, then it's how the water is or how the nutrients is delivered. So I will not say that like Dido on our NFTs, due to the complex design, you need to strike the balance between transporting nutrients, the amount of water on your reservoir or on your NFT. So sometimes it's also there's less water or more water. So there's a number of factors that we can look at on why is it affecting the growth rate.
Okay. So I'm. It's wonderful that Terry, you're experimenting with two different kinds of system.
Yeah, very nice.
So maybe next time we could have a session where we can compare the NFT system, which is what is used by the OTH system, and the LifePlantz system, which is an aeroponic system. Is that correct? Yes. We can maybe do a comparison of that also.
Yeah.
Emily says, sorry, skip my question. It's supposed to be for next week. Don't worry, Emily. Just ask away and come again next week for the full answer. Serena asks, are microgreen seeds the same as other veggie seeds? For example, the same rocket seeds can be microgreen.
Yep, it's the same. It's the same. So if you want to microgreen it, just you can use a sheet of cocoa fiber. Just sprinkle like what you see on the first. This is how I plant. Just sprinkle the seeds. Then put moisture on it. Make sure that it's not soaked. There's just moisture. Then cover it. Then after 5 days, open it. You will see that you can already take that microgreens, pluck it out and taste it. And it will taste exactly like your rockets or your bok choy or your lettuce.
All right, try that out. Serena is also asking, what's the water storage size for the OTH kit? So Chris mentioned just now that it's about 5 liters, right?
Yeah, it's about 5 liters.
So if you want to be sure, you know, the PET bottle that we always drink, 1 liter. So you fill up and see how many bottles it fills up that tank. So it should be about 5 liters. NM is asking, is it okay to add hydroponic solution to soil-based plants?
Hydroponic solutions to soil-based, meaning you use your nutrient solution and put it on your soil base. So don't waste your nutrient solutions on soil. So normally what you will do is use your slow release fertilizers on soil. Because when you put hydroponic solutions, it will just flow down and it will seep. So the nutrients has not been absorbed. So meaning the water just seep right down and plants' roots did not make use of it. So you on soil, use your controlled release fertilizer.
That's good advice. last question from Eugene. Which vegetable seeds do you recommend for easy germination and harvest? Hydroponics, to use in the hydroponics for the OTH kit. Beginner vegetables. I think that Eugene maybe has some problems germinating seeds to use for the OTH hydroponics kit. So he's asking what are the beginner veg that is easy for him to try?
Yeah, what we have beginner plants that what we have tested on at LifePlantz are those 5 varieties, which are pak choys, the rockets, the purple tango radish. But purple tango radish is a root crop, so just make sure that your medium can accommodate a root crop. And lettuce. So depends on the lettuce. Garden lettuce are what we have been using. So those are what we have tested on. Normally, the jade pak choys or the pak choys are really hardy. We subjected them to like acidic water, alkaline water, low nutrients, high nutrients, and they just won't give up on you. So pak choy is one of that plant that once it's established, it will be very hardy.
Okay. So number one super plant for beginners, pak choy. Got it. All right, where do I get the OTH kit? All right, Winnie, I'm sorry, it's not available. The OTH kit was part of the OTH pilot program and it was given to 50 Tampines residents. So it's already all given out. And we are going to see, they are undergoing this program and trying to experiment with hydroponics growing using that system at home. So after 3 months, we're going to see whether it works well or not and get their feedback, review the program and see whether we want to have a second version of the pilot program. So if we are going to have a second version, so we might announce it, that would be on the OTH social media. So if you want to, go ahead and follow our Tampines Hub social media. We'll make our announcements there, probably at the end of the year. But right now, I'm sorry, the kit is not available. Anyway, the kit is not something that you can buy off the shelves. So the team from OTH made it out of just ordinary materials available from hardware shops, like the pipes and whatever. Just we put it together ourselves. So it's not like the perfect kit. It still needs some tinkering. So maybe in one of the future webinars, Chris and Kel can show us a few tricks, DIY hacks on how to improve on the system. But if you are looking at getting a system that is quite advanced, more advanced than the OTH kit and can like grow quite easily, you can consider the kit by LifePlantz. So Kel has been giving away the starter kit from LifePlantz. So I don't know if there's anyone here today who has used that to germinate seeds, grow. I don't know, anybody? Anybody want to show if you did win one of those kits and tried germinating? So that is something that is much easier to use, and information on the LifePlantz kits are also available on the Tampines Home Farming community Facebook page. Or you can post your question now and ask Chris and Kel about their kits. Okay, any more questions? If no, then we hand it to Kel. Anything for us this week?
Yes, I have to say I went house visiting. I went to May's house. I mean, I was so tempted to take your brinjal away. Yeah, it looks so delicious, purple, right? Yeah, I just happened to be around, so I've been visiting a lot of Tampines places. And I hope you guys have been enjoying the start kit. We gave away start kit. So the start kit, once again, is very much meant for germination. So if you have received it and have not started, the start kit comes with, we got all the questions. We got a question from Eugene asking for sponsorship. We got questions from Linda. whether the kit comes with the coconut husk and the sponge medium. That's the sponge medium. So before you actually germinate, you actually wet this thing. You soak it in water for about, say, 10 minutes. Get them real wet, and you actually put it inside the kit. And then follow what Chris does. Just do that action. So make sure you get it right in. So if you're not good at that, you just follow my style. Tweezer, put it in right.
Use the hole there, because one start kit adopter actually sent pictures. The seeds are growing like at the bottom. So I think he did the.
He must do this. He must have done this. So as what you learned earlier, so no nutrients at the germination stage. So take a cover, close it, keep it there 3 to 5 days. You see your seedlings growing out. That's when you actually start growing. Yep, that's why the start kit is all about. And I saw some questions earlier, so I have some plants with me. So they look ready to be eaten. So that's the lettuce and the ever easy growing bok choy. That's the bok choy. So you can see. So we are trying to grow our cherry tomato. So it's some close pick. Hope you guys can see it. They are still a little bit small. So we are trying out our pH level, the amount of light it needs a day. So we are trying out all these things. So you can see there's a green one here, the unripe, a new fruit. So that's our home kit. So we haven't proposed a home kit for group buy, which is something that I'll do. So if you are interested, you can actually join our FB page. So all the group purchase are being done there. So I'll be posting this very soon. So that's a aeroponic system which works on a 6-pot. So you actually have 6 pots. So we have the 9-pot version, so you can actually grow 9 different kinds of seeds or plants, right? So very much to the lucky draw session. Today we're going to give away 3 sets. Okay, today we're not going to give away the halo light. We are running short of the halo light. That's why I actually limited to only 30 sets for the group purchase. So yes, been quite a demand for the halo light. So today I'm going to give away 3 sets, and in this color. So I tried out a new color. So we have not given out any of this color yet before. So 3 start kit for today. Okay. So drums roll, lucky draw, and let's see. I have Fok Ngai Ming. Sure you can see it.
Hey!
Congratulations.
Ngai Ming has asked some questions today, and thanks for the participation.
Oh, thank you.
So your lucky hand has drawn Ngai Ming, who has asked quite a number of questions. Yay!
So it's good to ask questions.
Yes.
You're lucky on Friday the 13th. So next lucky person we have I think it's Aziza Zakaria.
Yes.
Aziza, congrats. And the third person to win, I've got Ginny.
Ginny Yong.
Ginny Young, congratulations. So I'll be dropping you guys an email very soon. Just reply me with your details so I can just arrange the delivery to you. If I'm in the area, I will be the one sending it to you personally. If you have nice plants, if they disappear, it's not me. Thank you everybody for attending. Yeah, thank you so much. Continue to give us your feedbacks through our email, through our FB community page. Oh, really enjoy that. I mean, questions from Linda, questions from Harry, questions from Eugene. Really enjoy that. Keep it all coming.
Thank you, Kel, for having done the house visits. The next time you do, please do take pictures and post on the Facebook group.
Yes, I will.
And to everyone who's here today, before we say goodbye, make use of the Facebook group and ask your questions if you have any. Just post it there. So before the next webinar, if we can, we will try to answer some of your questions also. All right. Okay, thank you, everyone. Thank you, Chris. Thank you, Kel.
Bye.
Good night.
Good night.